Hi, I'm Steve Fisher, and I'm here with my friends at Kraft Music to show you the SPD-SX sampling percussion pad. Make sure you check out the bundles at Kraft Music because they've got everything that you need to get you going with your new SPD-SX. This is the SPD-SX sampling percussion pad. As a matter of fact, it's the only sampling percussion pad on the market. It features 2 gigabytes of memory. That's 6 hours of sampling time, 3 hours in stereo. That's a lot of sampling time. Not only that, but it also has 3 very powerful multi-effects engines that's inside. And of course, lots of room to do all your samples and editing, and it's got digital effects, multi-effects. You can layer 2 samples on a pad. It's almost endless what this thing can do. Again, it's a sampling pad. The world is your waveform. Put whatever you want to in here and use some drumsticks and start playing. The SPD-SX features 9 velocity-sensitive pads. They feel great, and they also trigger really well thanks to the V-Drums triggering technology. Nice, smooth, even, accurate triggering across each pad. Now you notice I have 3 edge pads, which is really nice. Very convenient. When you're playing fast, playing hard, you just need to hit a sound and start a loop. It's right there. It's very accurate. You'll notice next to each pad is a pad indicator light. That's very helpful in low light situations to see which pads are where. Not only that, but they're dynamic indicator lights, which means when the sample is playing or a loop is playing, you can actually see the dynamic or the volume amplitude, if you will, of that sample. So when I'm playing different loops, I can pretty much guess and know which loop is playing just by looking at the pulsing light. So it's a very helpful feature in regards to live playing. On the front panel, you'll notice a large LCD display and a lot of dedicated function buttons that are there. On the left-hand side, you'll also notice 2 real-time effects knobs. As I mentioned, there's 3 multi-effects engines, and what you can do is do DJ-style type effects in real time right from the front panel. Take a listen. Besides the master volume and the phone volume, there's also a separate click volume because yes, you could send the click separately out through just the headphone. What's really convenient is not only is there the click volume, but also the tempo indicator light. So visually you can see the tempo too, besides using headphones to hear the click tempo. And obviously that's important. You're going to be triggering a loop. You want to know what the tempo is so you can anticipate it, and it's right there. Now on the back panel, we've got a lot of great features there too. We have 2 sets of stereo outputs, besides the headphone output. Now remember, you can run just the click out the headphone output if you'd like. There's also a foot switch, a dual foot switch, to do a lot of different functions without having to use your hands on the front panel. We also have the ability to obviously import audio, whether it's a microphone or an outside audio source, because it has left and right audio in with mic and line level adjustment. There's MIDI in and out, and of course, the USB connectivity that we have there. In addition to all that, there's 2 dual trigger inputs, and that allows you to hook up extra pads, extra pedals, acoustic drum triggers, whatever, to expand the SPD-SX for a lot of great applications, and we're going to show you that in just a moment. Here's the SPD-SX used in a hybrid situation, in this case with my acoustic drum set. As I mentioned before, the SPD-SX has 2 dual trigger inputs. That allows me to either use acoustic drum triggers like I'm using here, or adding 2 more electronic drum pads. In the case of the acoustic drum triggers, I'm using Roland's RT series acoustic drum triggers, the RT10K for the kick and the RT10S for the snare, dual trigger snare. The great thing about the RT series drum triggers is that not only are they rugged and durable, but they match perfectly with all the Roland sound modules. You simply call up the trigger type in the module and they just start working. It's really that simple. The interesting thing about the RT series drum triggers as well is they utilize the V-Drums triggering technology. You can see the foam cone and it's always riding on the head. It's barely touching the head, but it's always riding on that head, and you can adjust the piston on that too. The other beauty of it is I'm not using any tape, I'm not using any muffling, which you typically would have to do with drum triggers. That way, the great drum sound that I like, my acoustic drum sound, is there, it's intact, and it's not impeding that sound at all. In these next playing examples, you're going to hear the acoustic drums via the overhead mics that I have here, and also the direct sound from the SPD-SX. Now, the great thing about this is that you can use just the direct sound if you want to, or what's really fun is blending your acoustic sound with your electronic sound, kind of getting the best of both worlds. Take a listen to just the acoustic drums by themselves, and then I'll add the SPD-SX. Now with the SPD-SX. You can see what a big difference that makes. And of course, since we're using the SPD-SX, I can have any sound I want to on my kick and on my snare. Here's another cool hybrid setup idea for you. I've removed the acoustic drum triggers and added 2 PDX6 pads. Of course, you can use any Roland pad. As I mentioned, the SPD-SX has 2 dual trigger inputs. These pads are dual trigger, so even though it looks like I have 2 pads, I actually have access to 4 sounds. So there's head and rim on each of those. Not only can I trigger individual sounds, but I can also trigger the loops too. And it's very convenient because I have my SPD-SX over here, but let's say I'm over here on the drum set and I want to trigger loops or sound. I've got my pads right here that I can easily access and play. Makes for a great setup. And again, the SPD-SX, you can put any sound you want in it, so over here you can trigger any sound you want. As you can see in here, adding the SPD-SX with drum triggers and with electronic drum pads makes for a really powerful hybrid set. If you don't know how to get started, it's really easy. Call the guys at Kraft Music. They have bundles ready to go with everything that you want. If you want a custom setup, give them a call. Either way, you're going to end up with a hybrid set that's powerful, that's awesome, and you're going to reach sonic capabilities you've never even thought of. As I mentioned, you can have any sound you want to and put it in the SPD-SX. It can be something like a vocal.
Ladies and gentlemen.
It can be a sound effect. It can be obviously a cool loop. Whatever you want to do, you can put it in there. What's fun though is you can also layer sounds. For example, I can have a cowbell and an open hi-hat. Another fun thing to do though, in regards to loops, is the fact that you can also have 2 loops there and have them alternate. I'm going to hit the pad once, you're going to hear the primary loop. When I hit the pad again, it's going to switch to the other loop. You can do some really creative things with that. Now there's a variety of ways you can get samples in your SPD-SX. You can load them in audio-wise, you can load them in on a thumb drive, whether it's an MP3 or a WAV file. You can also use the USB and download loops from your computer. Another cool thing you can do once you get the loops in there is chop them up. For example, if you have a song, I can take a song, whether it's on, for example, let's say an MP3 player or wherever. Let's say you even have a whole song file that's just one WAV file or one MP3 file, and you want to chop that song up. There's a lot of sampling options in the SPD-SX that allow you to do some really neat things. One of them is called chop mode. And you can do the same thing actually just using an external audio source using the multi-sample function, but you'll get the idea here. So I've got a loop. I've got a song in here, and what I'm going to do is play the song. Now, as the song plays, I'm going to be able to hit each pad at the end of each section of the song, and it's actually going to chop up the song for me. Take a listen. You get the idea. The final result sounds something like this. Get the idea. You can take any song you want to and chop them up on all the different pads. It's really effective. That way, when you go back to play the song, you can actually rearrange the song in real time while you're playing. Very effective and really creative. In this setup, I've added 2 PD-SX pads, and they're dual trigger pads, so I get head and rim, which go along great because there's 2 dual trigger inputs on the SPD-SX. Again, just like the other pads, I can trigger either single sounds or loops, again expanding the SPD-SX. Here's another idea to utilize those 2 dual trigger inputs on the back of the SPD-SX. I've got a KD9 kick drum hooked into one input and one of my large PD pads hooked into the other dual trigger input. Makes a great little mini drum kit. One more thing to mention is the optional PDS-10 stand that I'm using with the SPD-SX. It's in a lot of the bundles that Kraft Music sells, so definitely check it out. Again, I'm Steve Fisher. This is the SPD-SX sampling percussion pad. I'm at Kraft Music having fun. See you soon.
Here we go.